When pain speaks louder than words. The storm rolled into Boston like an unwelcome memory, bringing sheets of rain that hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse on Beacon Hill. Owen Blackwell stood in his home office, fingers flying across 3 different keyboards while monitors displayed cascading code in electric blue and green. The city below glittered through the downpour, each light a tiny beacon in the darkness. He had lived in this glass tower for 3 years, surrounded by technology he designed himself, yet the space always felt hollow. Empty. The crash that took his business partner had left him with scars nobody could see, the kind that made human connection feel dangerous and complicated. Owen was about to shut down his systems when a sound cut through the storm's roar. Soft but unmistakable. A muffled cry, almost swallowed by the rain. He froze, every nerve suddenly alert. It came again. Not the building settling, not the wind. A human voice, strained and desperate. Owen moved quickly through the hallway, his footsteps silent on the polished marble floors. The penthouse sprawled across the entire top level, with rooms he rarely entered and spaces that echoed with loneliness. He followed the sound past the kitchen, past the formal dining room, toward the service stairwell. That's when he saw her. The discovery. Juliet Ramsey sat crumpled at the base of the stairs, her back pressed against the wall, both hands clutching her left side. Her dark hair hung in damp strands around her face, and her uniform was wrinkled and twisted. Her breathing came in short, painful gasps that made Owen's chest tighten with recognition. He knew that sound. He had made it himself once, trapped in twisted metal while sirens wailed in the distance. She hadn't noticed him yet. Her eyes were squeezed shut, tears streaming silently down her cheeks as she rocked slightly, trying to manage pain that clearly overwhelmed her. Owen approached slowly, deliberately making his footsteps audible so he wouldn't startle her. When she heard him, her eyes flew open with pure terror. She tried to stand, tried to straighten up, tried to pretend nothing was wrong. "Please," she gasped, one hand shooting up defensively. "I'm okay. I just need a minute." Owen stopped several feet away, giving her space. He crouched down slowly, keeping his hands visible and his voice low. "Juliet, what happened?" She shook her head quickly, too quickly. "Nothing. I moved too fast coming down the stairs. I'm fine." It was a lie. Owen had built a career on recognizing patterns, on seeing what others missed. This woman had been working in his home for 2 weeks, always quiet, always careful, always disappearing into the background like a ghost. He had noticed things about her. The way she flinched at sudden movements. The way she wore long sleeves even in the overheated building. The way she never made eye contact for more than a second. "Can you stand?" he asked gently. "Yes." But when she tried, her legs buckled. A sharp cry escaped her lips before she could stop it, and she pressed harder against her ribs. Owen moved closer, still slow, still careful. "Let me help you." "No." The word came out sharp and panicked. She pulled back against the wall, eyes wide. "Please don't touch me." He stopped immediately, hands raised. "I won't touch you. I promise. But you're hurt, and I need to know how badly." Juliet's breath came faster now, each inhale making her wince. "I'm fine. I just need to rest for a minute, then I'll finish cleaning the West Wing." "You're not cleaning anything tonight," Owen said firmly but kindly. "Right now, you need medical attention." The plea that changed everything. "No doctors." Her voice broke. "Please, no hospitals, no questions, no reports." Owen felt something cold settle in his stomach. He had seen fear before, had lived with it himself for years after the accident. But the terror in her eyes was different. This wasn't fear of pain or injury. This was fear of people, of authority, of consequences she couldn't control. "Juliet," he said softly, "I need to understand what's happening. Are you in danger? She didn't answer. She just stared at the floor, trembling. Owen shifted position, sitting back on his heels. I'm not going to force you to do anything. But I can't help you if you won't tell me what you need. For a long moment, the only sound was rain hammering the windows and her ragged breathing. Then, so quietly he almost missed it, she whispered 3 words that would change everything between them. Go slow. Please. Owen's throat tightened. Those words carried weight beyond their simple meaning. They spoke of trauma, of violation, of pain inflicted by someone who had ignored similar pleas before. Okay, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Slow it is. Can I look at your injury? I won't touch you. Just look. She hesitated, then gave the smallest nod. Owen moved an inch closer, then waited. Another inch. Another pause. When he was close enough to see clearly, he asked, Can you lift your shirt just enough for me to see where it hurts? Juliet's hands shook as she slowly raised the fabric. What Owen saw made his blood run cold. The truth revealed. Bruises covered her left side in layers of purple, yellow, and deep blue. Some were fresh. Others were weeks old. They weren't random. They weren't from a fall. They were precise, patterned, deliberate. Fingerprints. Grip marks. Impact wounds shaped by fists and fury. Owen had to force himself to breathe normally, to keep his expression neutral, to not let his rage show on his face. Getting angry now would only scare her more. Juliet, he said carefully, these injuries need treatment. Some of them look infected. I've been treating them, she whispered. I have bandages and medicine. That's not enough. He sat back, giving her space again. Someone hurt you. Multiple times. This wasn't an accident. She pulled her shirt down quickly, fresh tears spilling over. I can't talk about it. You don't have to talk about it, Owen said. But you do need help. Real help. If I get help, he'll know. He always knows. Owen felt pieces clicking into place. Someone is looking for you. She nodded, unable to speak. Someone who did this to you. Another nod. Owen made a decision in that moment, one that surprised him. For 3 years, he had kept everyone at arm's length, had refused to let anyone close, had built walls higher than his penthouse. But looking at Juliet now, seeing her pain and terror and desperate need for safety, something in him shifted. Then you stay here, he said simply. Tonight. Tomorrow. However long it takes. This building has security most government facilities would envy. Nobody gets in without clearance. Nobody touches you without your permission. You're safe here. Juliet looked at him with disbelief, as if kindness was a language she had forgotten how to understand. Why would you do that? You don't know me. Owen met her eyes steadily. Because somebody should. The rain continued falling outside, washing the city clean, while inside the penthouse, 2 broken people began the slow, careful process of learning to trust again. Every scar tells a story. Morning arrived without fanfare, just pale gray light filtering through the storm clouds that still lingered over Boston. Owen had spent the night in the chair beside the guest room, watching Juliet sleep in fitful bursts, her body jerking awake every hour as nightmares pulled her from rest. Each time she woke gasping, he spoke softly from the shadows, reminding her where she was, that she was safe, that nobody could reach her here. Now, as dawn broke, he stood in the kitchen preparing coffee and trying to organize his thoughts. He had made a promise to protect someone he barely knew, and that promise carried weight he hadn't fully considered in the heat of the moment. Owen Blackwell was a man who solved problems with algorithms and logic, but Juliet's situation couldn't be debugged like faulty code. The sound of soft footsteps made him turn. Juliet appeared in the doorway, wrapped in the oversized robe he had left for her. She looked smaller in daylight, younger than her 24 years, with dark circles under her eyes and a wariness that made her seem like a deer ready to bolt at the first sign of danger. "Good morning," Owen said quietly, keeping his distance. "How did you sleep?" "Not well," she admitted, her voice hoarse. "But better than usual." He gestured toward the breakfast bar. "Are you hungry? I can make something simple. Eggs, toast, fruit." Juliet hesitated, as if accepting food was somehow crossing a line she couldn't uncross. "I should be cooking for you. That's my job." "Your job right now is to heal," Owen replied firmly. "Everything else can wait." She moved slowly to the bar and eased herself onto a stool, every motion careful and calculated to minimize pain. Owen noticed the way she positioned herself near the exit, the way her eyes tracked his movements, the way she kept one hand near her ribs as if protecting them from another blow that might come at any moment. The story begins to unfold. He prepared breakfast in silence, giving her space to adjust to the morning, to him, to the strange new reality of being somewhere that felt safe. When he placed a plate in front of her, she stared at it like it might disappear. "Thank you," she whispered. They ate quietly for several minutes before Owen spoke again. "You don't have to tell me everything. But I need to know enough to keep you safe. Who are you hiding from?" Juliet's fork froze halfway to her mouth. She set it down carefully, her hands beginning to tremble. "His name is Derek Walsh. We were together for 8 months before I realized what he really was." Owen listened without interrupting, without judgment, just letting her words fill the space between them. "He seemed normal at first," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "Charming, even. He worked construction, had friends, seemed stable. I was working 3 jobs trying to save money, trying to get my brother back from foster care, and Derek offered to help. He said he'd take care of me." Her laugh was bitter and broken. "Taking care of me meant controlling me. Tracking my phone. Demanding to know where I was every minute. Getting angry when I talked to other people. The first time he hit me, he cried afterward. Said he was sorry, that it would never happen again, that I had just pushed him too far." Owen felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his expression neutral. "It happened again," Juliet said flatly. "And again. Each time, he had an excuse. I made him angry. I didn't listen. I disrespected him. After a while, I started believing maybe it was my fault. Maybe I did push him. Maybe I deserved it." "You didn't," Owen said firmly. "You didn't deserve any of it." Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back. "I tried to leave twice. The first time, he found me at my friend's apartment within 6 hours. He broke down the door and dragged me back. After that, my friend was too scared to help me anymore. The second time, I made it to a shelter in Providence. He found me there too. I don't know how. He always knows. A dangerous man." Owen leaned forward slightly. "What happened after he found you the second time?" Juliet's hand moved unconsciously to her ribs. "These happened. He said if I ever tried to leave again, he'd make sure I couldn't walk away. That's when I knew I had to disappear completely. I saved every dollar I could hide, bought a bus ticket to Boston, changed my appearance, used my middle name instead of my first, and found a job where I could stay invisible." "But he found you anyway," Owen said. She nodded. 3 days ago, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was a photo of this building. No message, just the photo. Then yesterday, another text. A picture of me getting off the subway. He's here in Boston. He's watching. He's waiting." Owen felt cold fury settle in his chest. "Have you been to the police?" "Twice," she said bitterly. "The first time, they said there wasn't enough evidence for a restraining order. The second time, after he broke my wrist, they filed a report and told me to document everything. But Derek has a clean record. No arrests, no complaints. He's smart about it. He knows how to hurt people without leaving proof. The bruises are proof, Owen said. Not when they're weeks old and I have no medical records, Juliet replied. No doctor visits, no hospital reports, nothing documented. And even if I had all of that, a piece of paper wouldn't stop him. It would just make him angrier. Owen stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. So you've been living in fear, working while injured, trying to stay invisible while he hunts you. Yes. And the reason you're working at all is because of your brother. Juliet's voice broke. Tommy. He's 9 years old. He's been in foster care for 2 years, ever since our mother died and our father went to prison. The state says I can get custody if I can prove I have stable housing, steady income, and a safe environment. I was so close, Owen. I had almost saved enough for a deposit on an apartment. Then Derek found me and I had to run, and now I'm starting over from nothing. The weight of responsibility. Owen turned back to face her. Where is Tommy now? A group home in Worcester. He doesn't understand why I can't come get him. He thinks I abandoned him. Tears spilled over now, unchecked. He's all I have left in the world, and I can't even protect him or myself. Owen walked back to the breakfast bar and sat across from her. Juliet, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Do you think Derek is violent enough to escalate beyond what he's already done? She met his eyes, and the fear in them was answer enough. Yes. I think if he gets me alone again, he'll kill me. Not on purpose, maybe. But one day he'll hit me wrong, or too hard, or he'll go too far, and I'll end up like his last girlfriend. Owen went very still. His last girlfriend. She's the reason he moved from New Jersey to Massachusetts. I found out after we'd been together for months. She filed assault charges, but they were dropped when she suddenly left the state. Derek told me she was crazy, that she lied about everything. But I saw the court records. I know what he did to her. Where is she now? Owen asked. Juliet's voice dropped to a whisper. Nobody knows. She disappeared a year ago. No social media, no phone activity, nothing. Her family filed a missing person report, but the police said she left voluntarily. Derek laughed about it once when he was drunk. Said some people know when to stay gone. Owen felt something dark and protective rise in his chest, the same feeling that had made him pull bodies from the wreckage of the car accident 5 years ago, the same instinct that had kept him fighting to survive when every logical part of his brain said to give up. Juliet, he said carefully, I have resources. Security, lawyers, connections with people who can help. But I need you to trust me enough to let me use them. She shook her head. You don't understand what you're offering. Derek doesn't just hurt me. He hurts anyone who helps me. My friend who let me stay with her. He slashed her tires and broke her car windows. The shelter counselor who tried to help me file charges. Someone vandalized her house. He makes sure people know what happens when they get involved. I'm not most people, Owen said quietly. And this building, this level of security, these resources aren't things he's dealt with before. Let me help you. Please. A flicker of hope. Juliet studied him for a long moment, searching his face for something she could trust. Why are you doing this? You barely know me. This isn't your problem. Owen took a breath, choosing his words carefully. 5 years ago, I was in a car accident. My business partner was driving. We hit black ice on Route 2, flipped 3 times, and rolled into a ravine. He died on impact. I was trapped in the wreckage for 2 hours before emergency services found us. Juliet's eyes widened with understanding. I spent weeks in the hospital, Owen continued. Months in physical therapy. Years learning how to sleep without nightmares, how to drive without panic attacks, how to exist in a world that suddenly felt dangerous and unpredictable. I built walls around myself because letting people close meant risking more pain, more loss, more trauma. He paused. But last night, when I found you on those stairs, when you whispered those 3 words, something in me recognized something in you. We're both survivors of things that broke us. The difference is, I had resources to rebuild. You've been doing it alone, with nothing, while someone actively tries to destroy you again. Juliet wiped her eyes. I don't know how to let someone help me. Then we'll figure it out together, Owen said. Slowly. Carefully. At whatever pace you need. She nodded, a tiny movement, but it felt like a seismic shift. Okay. Owen felt relief wash through him. First thing we do is document everything. Photos of your injuries, copies of every text message, screenshots of any communication from Derek. We build a case that's undeniable. And then? Then we make sure he can't touch you again. Juliet's hand trembled as she reached for her coffee. He'll come here eventually. He always finds me. Then let him come, Owen said with quiet certainty. This time, he'll find out what it's like to face someone who fights back. When danger knocks at the door. 3 days passed in careful routine. Juliet moved through the penthouse like a ghost learning to be human again, while Owen worked to build an invisible fortress around her. He contacted his head of security, installed additional cameras, activated facial recognition software at every entrance, and quietly hired a private investigator to locate Derek Walsh. The investigator's report arrived on the 4th morning, and what Owen read made his blood run cold. Derek had a pattern. For previous relationships, 3 restraining orders that were never enforced, 2 assault charges that disappeared when victims refused to testify, and 1 missing woman whose case had gone cold after Derek's name appeared in the initial investigation. Juliet was right to be terrified. This man wasn't just violent. He was methodical, calculating, and dangerous in ways that suggested he had gotten away with escalating behavior for years. Owen was reviewing security footage when his phone buzzed with an alert. Camera 3, main entrance. Unknown male. Facial recognition match. Derek Walsh. His heart slammed against his ribs. He pulled up the live feed. There, standing on the sidewalk outside the building's main entrance, was a man who looked exactly like violence dressed in ordinary clothes. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark jacket and jeans, Derek stared directly at the camera with a smile that made Owen's skin crawl. He wasn't trying to hide. He wasn't sneaking around. He was announcing his presence like a predator marking territory. Owen's fingers flew across his keyboard, locking down every access point, activating additional security protocols, and sending an alert to building security. Then he stood and walked quickly to the guest room where Juliet was resting. She looked up when he entered, and immediately read the tension in his face. He's here. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a question. Yes, Owen said. Outside the building. He can't get in, but he wants you to know he's close. The terror returns. Juliet's face drained of color. She stood too quickly, gasping as pain shot through her ribs, and moved to the window. Owen caught her arm gently before she could look outside. Don't let him see you, he said firmly. That's what he wants. He's trying to scare you into running. It's working, she whispered, her whole body shaking. Owen, you don't understand. If he's here, that means he's done watching. He's ready to act. Owen guided her away from the window. Then we act first. I'm calling the police. They won't do anything, Juliet said desperately. He's standing on a public sidewalk. He's not breaking any laws. He's harassing you. Stalking you. Prove it, she said bitterly. He'll say he was just walking by. That it's a coincidence. That I'm paranoid. Owen pulled out his phone. I have 3 days of footage showing him circling this block. I have the texts he sent you. I have the investigators' report linking him to previous victims. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern. Before Juliet could respond, Owen's phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from building security. Subject attempting to gain entry. Claims to be Ms. Ramsey's boyfriend. Requesting we send her down to verify. Refused and instructed to leave. Subject becoming aggressive. Owen showed Juliet the message. Her hand flew to her mouth. He's not going to leave. He'll wait until he finds a way in. He always does. Owen's mind raced through possibilities. His building had excellent security, but no system was perfect. Derek had proven he could find people who didn't want to be found. If he was determined enough, creative enough, ruthless enough, he might find a vulnerability. We need to get ahead of this, Owen said. He made a quick call to his lawyer, explained the situation in rapid sentences, and then called a contact at the Boston Police Department, someone who owed him a favor from years ago. Within an hour, 2 police officers arrived to take Juliet's statement. She told them everything, her voice shaking but determined, while Owen provided documentation of Derek's presence, the threatening texts, and the investigators' findings about his history. The confrontation. The officers took notes, promised to speak with Derek, and left with assurances that they would monitor the situation. But Owen could see the doubt in their eyes. They had seen 100 cases like this. Most ended with paperwork and warnings that accomplished nothing. That evening, as twilight painted the city in shades of purple and gold, Owen's security system pinged with another alert. Camera 7, service entrance. Unauthorized access attempt. Owen's stomach dropped. He pulled up the feed and saw Derek at the service entrance, talking to someone in a delivery uniform. A minute later, the door opened. No, Owen breathed. He immediately triggered the lockdown protocol, sealing every floor, and then grabbed his phone. Juliet, stay in your room. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me. Her eyes went wide with terror. He's inside, isn't he? I'm handling it, Owen said, trying to project calm he didn't feel. Just stay locked in there. He moved quickly through the penthouse, his heart hammering. The service entrance opened to a private elevator that required a key card to access the upper floors. Derek shouldn't be able to reach the penthouse level. But Owen had learned that shouldn't and couldn't were 2 different things when someone was desperate enough. The elevator dinged. Owen's blood turned to ice. He moved to the security panel and pulled up the elevator camera. The car was empty, but the doors had opened on his floor. Someone had overridden the system. He heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate, confident. Owen stepped out of the office and came face to face with Derek Walsh for the first time. Face to face with danger. Derek was bigger in person, with cold eyes and a smile that suggested he was enjoying this. You must be the rich guy, he said casually. Nice place. Must be worth, what, 10 million? 15? You're trespassing, Owen said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding his system. Leave now, or I call the police. Derek laughed. Go ahead. By the time they arrive, I'll be gone. Besides, I'm just here to pick up my girlfriend. Where is she? Juliet is not your girlfriend. She's under my protection, and you're not getting near her. Derek's smile faded. Protection? He stepped closer, and Owen could smell alcohol on his breath. You think you can protect her? You think money and security cameras make you tough? I've been breaking into places like this since I was 16. Rich people always think they're safe behind their locks and their alarms. But security systems have blind spots. Buildings have weaknesses. And people, he smiled again, people always make mistakes. Owen stood his ground. The police are already on their way. You have about 3 minutes to leave before this becomes a criminal matter you can't talk your way out of. 3 minutes is plenty of time, Derek said. He took another step forward. See, here's what's going to happen. You're going to bring Juliet out here, tell her to come home with me, and then we're going to walk out of here like civilized people. If you don't, well. He shrugged. Accidents happen. Rich guys fall off balconies. Buildings catch fire. Bad things find their way to people who don't mind their own business. Owen felt rage burn through his fear. You're threatening me in my own home while being recorded by 6 different cameras. Do you understand how stupid that is? Derek's expression darkened. I don't care about cameras. Footage gets deleted. Files get corrupted. Witnesses forget what they saw. The only thing that matters is that Juliet comes with me, and you don't become a problem. I'm already a problem, Owen said quietly. And unlike the other people you've terrorized, I have resources you can't imagine. You lay one finger on me or on Juliet, and I will bury you in legal proceedings that will follow you for the rest of your life. Derek lunged forward, grabbing Owen by the collar. Big words for someone who's alone up here. He's not alone. Both men turned. Juliet stood in the hallway, pale and trembling, but her eyes burned with something Owen hadn't seen before. Fury. Juliet, Derek said, his voice immediately softening into something sickeningly sweet. Baby, come on. Let's go home. This guy is filling your head with lies. You know I love you. You know you belong with me. I don't belong to you, Juliet said, her voice shaking but clear. I never did. And I'm not going anywhere with you. Ever. Derek's face twisted with rage. He released Owen and moved toward Juliet. You don't get to tell me no. You don't get to decide this. Owen stepped between them. She already did. Derek swung. Owen ducked, but the fist caught his shoulder, sending him stumbling backward. Before Derek could advance on Juliet, Owen regained his balance and shoved him hard toward the elevator. Derek crashed into the wall, cursing. The elevator doors opened, and 2 police officers stepped out, hands on their weapons. Boston Police. Don't move. Derek froze, his face contorting with fury and disbelief. He looked at Juliet one last time, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper. This isn't over. Yes, Juliet said, tears streaming down her face. It is. The officers handcuffed Derek, reading him his rights while he shouted threats and accusations. Owen stood beside Juliet, his arm around her shoulders as she finally allowed herself to break down. Derek was led away, his voice echoing down the hallway until the elevator doors closed and silence returned. Juliet collapsed against Owen, sobbing. I was so scared. I thought he would hurt you. I thought he would kill us both. Owen held her carefully, mindful of her injuries. You were incredibly brave. You stood up to him when you had every reason to hide. I couldn't let him hurt you, she whispered. Not when you've done so much to help me. They stood there for a long moment, 2 people who had been broken by violence and fear, now holding each other up in the aftermath of confronting it together. It's over, Owen said softly. He can't hurt you anymore. But even as he said the words, he knew that healing from trauma like this would take more than one confrontation. It would take time, patience, and the kind of trust that had to be rebuilt brick by brick. Still, as he felt Juliet's trembling begin to ease, as her breathing slowly steadied, Owen realized something had shifted between them. She wasn't just someone he was helping anymore. She was someone who had chosen to trust him, to stand beside him, to fight back when fighting seemed impossible. And for the first time since the accident that had shattered his own world, Owen Blackwell felt like maybe, just maybe, letting someone in wasn't the dangerous thing he'd always believed it to be. Maybe it was the only thing that could save them both.